because it went down. What did the Celtics finals rematch win over the Warriors last night prove? And Zay, I do want to make a comment before I get into my take and then pass the rock to you. You know, Jason Tatum came out. Matter of fact, we're going to play that clip right about now. Let's hear it from Jason Tatum.
200%. There's no question about it.
I think the first time we played them in San Francisco, I felt like we bought into that, right? Rematch of the finals, ABC game. First time back since we lost, everybody wanted to win so bad. And I think that was the first time all season that we played out of character, that we played tense. And we just kind of have to talk about it today. Like, the fact of the matter is we lost. We lost the championship. No one win can bring that back. We can't go back in time and change that. So we didn't look at this as a rematch of the finals, right? It's just one game against a great team with great players and, obviously a great coach. But it was just one game. Whether we won or lost tonight, we didn't celebrate and hang a banner or anything. We still got a game on Saturday. So I think just coming in with that mindset of, it's January 19th. It's a Thursday and we playing against a really good team. No rematch of the finals, anything like that. Not make it bigger than anything it is. It's one game. They all count as one. And I think, we learned from that early in December playing against them and, just came out a little bit more relaxed today.
Yeah, sorry about the little technical error at first. John Harbaugh was like, I'm not done here. Let's talk about me. No, John Harbaugh, we are done talking about you, at least for today. Let's move on to the NBA. We just heard from Jason Tatum. And now you're going to hear from me and then Zay. Basically, no matter how Jason Tatum or the Celtics or the Warriors try to downplay the magnitude of this game was a high-profile game. Let's face it. A lot of players in the NBA do not take the regular season seriously. And as a fan, there's certain parts in the NBA calendar that's really worth looking forward to. Last night was one of those points in the calendar. When you talk about all the ramifications, all the adjustments made prior to this game. Number one, Jaylen Brown was activated before the game. You mean to tell me that ain't mean none of y'all? Y'all playing a couple days. The Warriors, Steve Kerr, he changed his lineup, basically downsizing, going away from Kevon Looney, inserting Poole into the lineup for the small ball operation there. There was a lot of movements. Both teams were at full health and ready to rumble. And basically my observation and what the Celtics proved to me is that the only team that could really beat the Celtics, literally, is the Celtics, right? Now, clear their shot wasn't falling. Jason Tatum, he had a slow process to get into the flow of the game. Jaylen Brown coming off an injury, he didn't come through to the fourth quarter when he hit that game-time three-pointer. But they were still able to manufacture points in the paint area by getting the ball to Al Horford in the low post, and he was attacking the paint. He had a very infectious energy on both sides of the ball. He was getting blocks. He was hustling. One point in the first quarter, I believe he had a block on Poole. He came back into the play and got the rebound. His energy was so infectious that it really held the Celtics down until the last 6 minutes of the game, where Jason Tatum was like, oh, wow, I'm at an NBA game. I got to go off. That's my job. If I'm the MVP of the league on consideration, these are my moments to show up. Yeah, I may have struggled with my shot being inefficient, per usual, against the Warriors. They got me. But at the end of the day, this fourth quarter, pass me the rock. I'm going to take it. Jaylen Brown, same thing. And that's how it's supposed to be. Your supporting cast is supposed to hold you up until your superstars are ready to take you where you need to go. But I think for me, and the reason why I say the only team that can beat the Celtics basically is the Celtics, is because I still see some erraticness when it comes to them. You talk about that last stretch in the game, in the overtime in particular. They had a lead. You're thinking, all right, the game is over. I'm going to get a head start on what I'm going to do next after this game is over. And sure enough, I believe it was Al Horford. He fouled Andrew Wiggins on the three-point line. All this is photographic memory. He fouled him on the three-point line. Gave him a three-point shot, basically. 3 points. Now with a gap. Then the next exact play, as I can remember, they turned the ball over. Easy bucket. DiVincenzo 3. Then they almost turned the ball over again, and Jaylen Brown saved the day. What happens if he didn't save the ball? I firmly believe that we would have been looking at 2 overtimes. And that's the thing about the Celtics. That's very, very frustrating. You want to choke them because they have the talent in the world. They should have won the finals last year, truth be told. But every time they just get into these erratic moments. Remember the Miami Heat series? Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, where they was up by like 10. And Miami just kept chipping away. They was, Marcus Smart is doing some Marcus dumbness, you know what I'm saying? And then they almost came back. The Celtics, I thought that basically with experience, they would outgrow that because that's just a bad habit. And they have improved their games individually as a collective as well. But that erraticness can defeat them. So that's basically what they proved to me, is that they're the only ones that could beat them. And let's see if that happens.
I think to answer the question, what did the Celtics finals rematch win over the Warriors prove? That you could be the Warriors team that's still trying to find their identity. They're still trying to see where they're at after the championship run that they had. I think they're still living off that NBA Finals. And they don't really recognize what's happening right now in the Western Conference. There's a lot of teams hustling and working hard. They could really knock out the Warriors out of playoff contention, let alone playing in. It's looking like a lot of teams are combating a very close leads in the Western Conference. And I think the Warriors are still groggy. They're still sleeping. They're not awoke yet. They're not playing their best basketball. Despite that little comeback they had last night. But I think the Celtics, and I want to comment on the Celtics thing you said, where they said the only team that can beat them is themselves. I disagree with that. I think there's a team that is still, when fully healthy, could take the Celtics to 7 games easily, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. When you look at what Chris Middleton means to that Milwaukee Bucks team, he was missing in that Game 6, Game 7 against the Celtics when he got hurt. That allowed the Celtics to move on in the playoffs. I think if Chris Middleton was playing that game, we would be talking about an entirely different story. I think the Celtics still have a lot of identity issues within themselves, like you stated, a lot of erraticness. They lack discipline late in games. There's 3 quarters they play immaculate, but that 4th quarter or overtime, they just wind up playing stupid. There's no other word to say. They don't play like they were playing earlier in the game, and that's maybe due to the fact that the coaching, is not Udoka is not the same one that was preaching prior. Maybe it's there's a lack of, or probably a laxness, a lackadaisicalness of the coaching, where he's calm, cool, and collective, not really, telling guys what they need to do like a disciplinary coach. Is more of like, yeah, do this, yeah, you're doing fine, don't worry about it, come out, yeah. He's not really like, making sure that everyone's hammered down and locked in for the full 48 minutes of the game that they need to be. And that's dangerous, especially when you're talking about, because we all know the Celtics going to the playoffs. So it's like when they get to the playoffs and stuff in that nature, we know is this going to be the same level of play they're going to show? Is there another level that they could get to back teams off? Because I don't know if you're playing against Milwaukee Bucks, you're playing against Miami, you're playing against the Raptors, and you just fall off in the 4th quarter and you think everything's going to be sweet and fine. That doesn't work by every team. In the regular season, yeah, it's fine. Some teams just can't come back. Some teams are not locked into it. But we're talking about playoffs, when they go home, that's not going to flow. That's not going to, go the way you think it is. And I think the only team right now that the Celtics need to worry about in their conference is the Milwaukee Bucks. That's the team that at any given moment, once they get Chris Middleton back, Jrue Holiday, Giannis fully healthy, they could take that Eastern Conference easily without even blinking an eye.
And that's kind of the reason why I said that the Celtics, their biggest, nemesis is themselves, because you literally kind of eliminated half of the Eastern Conference with your last statement, with your closing statement, that you really have to worry about the Bucks, which I can't disagree with. You still got Giannis over there, but the Celtics are more athletic than them. They're way more athletic than them, right? They got guys that can fly. They got guys that can shoot over people. They got depth. They got defense. They got offense. They can throw the bodies at Giannis to give him a hard time. And clearly they did that last year. Now, Giannis is a different specimen, and Chris Middleton wasn't there. And I get all those arguments. But the Celtics have experience. Okay, now they have championship experience. And I feel like if they can just stop beating themselves, which is part of my statement of the erraticness when it comes to them in late game situations, they just looking all over at each other. Guys don't even want to take the shot if you really watch them. And they can kind of like mature enough in those situations. Primarily, who's really stopping them? Like if they really fix those fourth quarter indecisive issues, it's going to be hard to beat them. And that's why I feel, and that's why I say that Boston is the only one that can beat Boston. Because if they're not beating Boston, then nobody's beating them. And I think when you look at the other side, when you talk about the Warriors here, because I do want to show the Warriors some light, I think the Warriors in this game, although it wasn't perfect, although people may question Steve Kerr's decision to go really, really small and get dominated on the boards, you talk about, I believe it was 38 to 52 or 63 to 47 and 18-8 on the offensive glass. When you talk about the Warriors and everything, they showed that they are dangerous in this game. Nevertheless, they are a very dangerous team. Now, dangerous and actually being a favorite are two different things. You know, I'm not sure if I would bank my money today on the Warriors making the finals. If I had to make a bet like that, I'd be very hesitant because you look at the Nuggets, you look at the Grizzlies. I think it's them two, and everybody else is just trying to get to them. But at the same time, when you have a guy like Steph Curry, who's always in motion, who's always trying to find a little open space to shoot the three, even when he passed the ball, he's moving. Like, you mean to tell me I got to play an 82-game schedule, then the playoffs, then I got to follow this dude all around the court. I got to chase this dude all around the court. It's like Tom and Jerry. You talk about fatigue. Yeah, I'm going to be fatigued. So the Warriors are dangerous, but they still have work to do. They have a lot of work to do. They need to be very aggressive at the trade deadline and get some reinforcements on that bench. Because 2 points in the first half off the bench or the bench players, yeah, you got work to do. So, like I said, they're still dangerous because they're the Warriors, and they have what I deem to be, to me, arguably the best player in the world, at least top 3, top 5, and Steph Curry. They're dangerous because of that. But they still have work to do. And if you ask me today, Real, or if anybody asks me today, who do you trust more out these two teams to make the finals again? I'm going Celtics. Easy.
That's fair to say. You know, I think you can make the argument that the Celtics would be better off going back to the finals than the Warriors at this particular moment. You know, the Warriors, they got young guys out there off the bench. They're trying to work them through. You know, they got Wiseman, they got Moody, they got Moses. You know, guys. Moses, Moody, and Kuminga. You know, guys are not fully progressing the way they anticipated. After that championship run they had, they thought there would be another step to their game, but you know, it's slow. It's a slow burning candle to their improvement, and unfortunately, they have to rely on Jordan Poole to just paid all that money too, so he could really thrive off the bench and get the 20 points off the bench, 30 points off the bench that they know he's capable of doing, but it hasn't been on a consistent basis, which is an issue, and also it hasn't been against the higher echelon teams in the league, the Celtics of the world, Nuggets, Grizzlies. So you know they have to. Everyone has to wake up, essentially. You know, they can't just rely on Curry getting 45 every night. You know, everyone needs to do their part and play both sides of the ball, defense and offense, because their defense hasn't been that great either, and they have good defenders there. So it's a lot of issues over there. But I think, like you said, the Celtics, if either of the teams were to you bet the bank on to go back to the playoffs, you would have to say, finals, it would have to be the Celtics.
And you talk about, well, I talked about fatigue and guarding Steph. He might be fatigued Steph by the time they get late in the playoffs with all that he's going to have to do. And the Warriors upfront talent is going to have to do to overcome some of that back end depth. But I think one of the things that I noticed, and I'm going to end here with my take. One of the things that I noticed is different. And ironically, I thought about this last night. Draymond Green actually came on his podcast. I believe it took ownership of that. Is Draymond Green is something missing with him. You know, to get in guys' faces, argue with guys, that voice, that leader. Ever since that Jordan Poole situation, I know a lot of people want to dismiss that. Like, yeah, that's a little outside incident. That's not going to affect the Warriors. I think it has some ramifications on them. I think Draymond Green is not showing that edge that I don't know the words I'm trying to get. But that, I'm going to get into your face. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to coach him up while he's playing. I don't see that Draymond Green anymore. He's passive now. And I think the Warriors need that. You know, I don't see that with him. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they're not hustling. defensively, in most instances.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, we're not seeing the same intensity that we once saw with Draymond because before that incident, he never swung on nobody or punched them and he connected and punched them in their face, and we saw it all. Like that's something that definitely changed dramatically with Draymond Green. I think, it's now unfortunately the task of Steph Curry to be that vocal leader because when Draymond Green was once doing it, it was an aggressive, but let's get it going. Now teams and teammates, are probably more fearful of getting into a fight or messing their money up or whatever the case that nature because that could have ended. Let's say if it wasn't Jordan Poole, let's say if it was like somebody else, somebody who's not really known on the Warriors, and him and Draymond got into an argument, that could have been that kid's career. His career would have ended right then and there. But Jordan Poole having that year that he had, and it really like showcasing his game, and then winning the championship, being one of the reasons they won the championship, and that's probably one of the main reasons why Jordan Poole is not like off the team or something like whatever. Or didn't like because any situation where Draymond Green is combating with another person, it's usually just an argument and they walk off. But something had to be said in order for that to happen, and then Draymond Green swung on him. Now Draymond Green is wrong, of course, for swinging on him, and now he can't be that same leader that he once was because now it's like depleted. Now like you already shown that you could take it as far as swinging on a teammate for a disagreement. So now teammates probably don't trust you no more to even hear your words, and that's like daunting. And that probably was the beginning of the demise of the Golden State Warriors.
Absolutely. The Warriors, they just got to do a better job of taking the regular season seriously. I understand they believe in their minds that they could just turn it on, turn that championship pedigree. They feel that they have an advantage, which in some cases they do over the teams that they play, the experience advantage. But we see time and time again, when you don't take the regular season seriously, it can come back to bite you come playoff time. Let's see if it does to the Warriors.